Hi, wonderful people. How are you doing today? This is Joshua Fredenberg coming to you live from Miami, Florida with our other wonderful distinguished panelists. I want to welcome you all to this second session of our virtual engagement and programming masterclass. I'm so excited that all of you have joined us today. So I just want to thank you all so much for being a part of the program. I want to welcome you here. I want to thank our wonderful panelists once again for taking the time to be part of this wonderful program. So grateful for all of them. I'm getting ready to pull up the slide right now, so we'll be on our PowerPoint as we move forward, just so you all can keep where we're at. So I'm pulling it up now. And so as you all know, this is the Virtual Engagement and Programming Masterclass part number 2. For those that do not know me, my name is Dr. Joshua Fredenberg, and not only am I a national speaker that speaks on campuses all throughout the nation, but I'm also the author of 6 books, leadership, diversity, inclusion consultant, and president of the Circle of Change Leadership Conference, which again is not only sponsoring the event, but this is a nonprofit organization that I'm executive director over, where we host national conferences in in Los Angeles in the fall and New York in the spring, where we're preparing students not only to discover the leader from within and to make an impact in the world, but more importantly is to help them develop the career leadership skills and professional skills necessary to ultimately attain career leadership success after graduation. And so we're grateful for them for doing their part to enable us to be here today. So I want to welcome you again to this session. I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to get ready to get right into it. But I am aware there are many of you that were not with us last week. So there are some of you that were not with us the last time we were here 2 weeks ago. And so I want to bring everyone up to speed. First of all, last session was so amazing. I thought it was some great information. The panelists shared some great wisdom, some great nuggets. And I'm just so grateful for them, not only for participating on the first one, but also participating on this one as well. And the reason we're doing the second session is because we were not able to get through all of the questions that I wanted to talk about as it relates to virtual engagement and programming. But since some of you were not there, I want to just give you an update on what we talked about. The first question that was asked is, what has been some of the most successful virtual programs over the past few weeks? This was a couple of weeks ago. And some things that we talked about was open mic sessions, Netflix, trivia nights, live parties, cooking classes, leadership development workshops, and a variety of other things that we're able to discuss, and some phenomenal ideas that were talked about in that first session. The second question that we talked about are, what have been some of your greatest challenges? And so one of the challenges that we talked about was involvement. How do you get students involved? How do we ensure that students can still be engaged? And so we talked about doing a pre-assessment, getting to know your students, seeing what their needs are, and then customizing your program to those needs. We talked about finding influencers, students that may have thousands of followers that you can use to help promote your programs. We talked about different leadership workshops that Christina talked about using Zoom. We talked about having quality content, because if you're going to have people come back, the content has to be quality. We talked about partnering with other departments on campus and joining forces together to develop great programming for students and professionals. The next challenge we talked about was money. I know this is a popular one right now, money. How do you fund these programs with having to give money back? I know some of you are dealing with budget freeze where you can't spend any money at all. And so we talked about how you can reach out to professional speakers and get a reduced rate. We have Jason, myself, and Jared definitely be willing to work with campuses. We talked about partnering with other campuses, with other departments, and coming together to put money towards certain events that'll be beneficial for students. We talked about external partners, so looking outside of your institution and other partners that can help out. We talked about being more innovative, but most importantly, we talked about do not let money be an issue. We're very creative, we're very innovative, and there's things that we can all do in order to provide more valuable programming to our students and professionals. We also talked about technical things such as Zoom and lighting and a variety of other things as well. The unfortunate thing was from last time is I did not record it, and that's why I was not able to send out the recording. But guess what? I am recording this one, so we'll have that available to you afterwards as well. And we're on Facebook Live right now in one of our groups, so all that information will be available as well. And so that's just want to catch everyone up to speed of where we're at. We're going to get ready to get into this session, and for today, it's going to be really simple. We're going to be answering questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat room. There is a chat room. We'd love to hear your questions. please let us know what your questions are so that we can answer those questions and provide you with instant feedback to some of your questions. Secondly, we're going to just get into our last set of questions. There was 3 other questions that we want to talk about. We're going to talk about that and a variety of other things. So we're getting ready to get started. I don't want to waste your time at all. And so I'm going to begin by introducing our first panelist. Our first panelist is Christina. She is an assistant director of student activities and leadership at Borough of Manhattan College. And so Christina, welcome back. If you want to introduce yourself, and if you could just tell us really quickly, what is something you've learned since we last met?
Hi, everybody. Yes, I'm Christina Wazak, Assistant Director of Student Activities and Leadership at Borough of Manhattan Community College, which is in the University of New York. I'm coming live from Brooklyn, New York, though. And something since the last time we met, I've been paying more attention to TikTok. It's something that the youngsters are using. Something that I know people are using. I don't know if anyone on the panel is using it. I was not using it. And our office, thanks to our college assistants, our social media team, set up an account. And so we are looking at using that. So there's like dance challenges, and there's the some of them are cool and some of them I'm like, eh. So so paying attention to that. Also for me, that's like opening up my mind and saying, like, personally, I would not use TikTok, but this is about what are we doing for the students and with the students. And so, meeting the students where they're at. So we're looking at that. What are the possibilities? What are some of the challenges? So, yeah, that's, I'm getting more into TikTok. Yeah. And I'd like to say shout out to Catherine Bedoya from BMCC for creating my background. We were talking about backgrounds earlier. She's in the Center for Career Development, created this. So yeah, I'm stepping it up.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Christina. We're so happy to have you here today. Our next panelist that we're going to get ready to introduce right now, they are no stranger to our team as well. Jared Benjamin, he's an international speaker and CEO of the Lead Firm. So Jared, welcome. And what is something that you learned since you last met?
Since we last met, I've had the opportunity to partner with a couple of institutions, also host a few webinars. But something that's really stood out to me is co-curricular programming, complementing our normal curriculum with activities that could definitely enhance it, make it more enjoyable. Students are bored. I got to be real. Everybody didn't sign up for a virtual learning environment. Some folks, socioeconomical differences, some folks don't have all the assets their institution has at their homes. Earlier, I was on a webinar where a person talked about their population, their students are from rural areas where some of those areas don't even have internet capability.
Wow.
And so, I've thought about different ways to embed co-curricular. Some things that I've been able to do that's kind of been fun is mock interviews. I feel like right now, if no other time while the economy is kind of uncertain, we really want to be sure our soft skills are brushed up with our students. So I've been, committing about an hour a week with reaching out to students from my institution on establishing mock interviews. Tell me what the job looks like that you're looking for post-graduation. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ensure I have quality interview questions. And when it's outside of my expertise, I've been leaning on people like Dr. Fredenberg, leaning on other friends of mine saying, what does the market have? And what are the questions that are positioned for this job? So mock interviews was a part of my co-curricular partnering, and remembering since our last time meeting is there's no academic affairs and student affairs when you're trying to support a customer, and the customer is the student. Right. So right now we really got to close that bridge and ensure that there's no divisional gaps that would cause interruption of service for students. We're just all professionals trying to do our best in an unforeseen time. So that's some of my takeaways from our last time meeting together.
Awesome. I'm so happy to have you back, Jared. We're so excited to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of the program again. We're so excited to have you once again. Our next wonderful panelist is Donald Van Pelt Jr. He's Director of Student Activities and Involvement at Florida Atlantic University. Donald, welcome. And what is something you've learned since we last met?
Yes, thank you, Josh. Great to be back again.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have learned is that our leadership at the university has still been looking at who we're engaging. And from our numbers that we have been able to analyze, although it's been a challenge to collect data of our students who are attending events, those who are currently attending are a different set or a different population of students who have typically been attending our events from the fall semester. So we're engaging some of those online students and some of a larger number of our commuter students, which we've seen from our events we've hosted. We've been able to collect names and emails. So we've had about 607 students attend a variety of our events. That's information we've been able to collect. However, we've still been collecting qualitative data as well. So we're just making sure that after this, we're still able to share our story and how we were able to support and engage our students throughout this pandemic. Because again, this is temporary. We just want to make sure that we're able to share our story and how we supported our students through this. And we have some great data thus far.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Donald, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I love how you're collecting data. Data is very important, I believe. So thank you so much. And our last panelist, he's no stranger as well, Jason Lavasar. He's an international speaker and performing artist with the Rockstar Project. Jason, welcome. Hello. You talked about you had 30-something virtual presentations, I believe, in April. So I'm sure you learned some stuff. What have you learned?
Well, I've definitely, one of the awesome parts about having the opportunity to have so many presentations is that you get better, right? And so 4 weeks ago, I had never done a virtual leadership workshop. I had done hundreds and hundreds on campuses with live audiences and in person. And one of the things that I just want to let everybody know is that you won't get better unless you practice, like in all of this. So jump right in and do it. And I know that a lot of the schools have been just doing amazing programming. So thanks to everybody for doing that. Even if it's free programs for students, it's awesome to get them engaged. As Jared said, students support and they want to be engaged, and they really do. So what I've really learned is I've really become a much better presenter. I've also learned the differences in the campus's ability to reach out to their students. You know, I'm speaking to schools every day. I'm on the phone with advisors, on Zoom calls. Some of you have access to your students every day where you can email the entire student body and you have the freedom to do that. There are also other campuses that aren't allowed to do that. And so that was a big discovery for me to find out that some of the folks I was working with, and I said, well, let's promote this event. And they said, well, we can only, with permission, post on this page at this time. And so I would advocate for everybody to try to find every possible way to find those influencers to help you promote. Like really, if you are one of those campuses where you're being repressed in your promotional capabilities, like find other avenues. Don't let that hold you back. You know, just because somebody said no doesn't mean there's not another way to do it. So I'm encouraging you all to continue to knock on doors that you may not know are even there. Find an alternate way to do a program. And then just go for it. As Nike would say, just do it, right? Yeah. As Joshua Friedberg would say, do it. I don't know, what would Joshua Friedberg say?
Do it, exactly. Do it.
Just do it, right? Yeah.
No, yeah. I want. This wasn't in my notes, but I think you all brought up something really powerful. Jason and Donald kind of shared some stuff about marketing, and I think that's so vitally important. For myself, I often like to say, as a professional speaker, you are a marketer and you are a salesperson. I didn't sign up to be a marketer. I really don't like marketing. I really don't like selling, but if you don't know how to do that as a professional speaker or any artist, you are not going to have business. It's just a reality. And so I've been learning a lot about marketing. I love how Donald talked about a database. And I don't know if we talked about creating a database out of online programming. And I love how you talked about, Jason, using everything you could possibly think of. And I'm a firm believer in that everything, market, phone calls, internet, websites, emails, everything makes a difference. But I want to ask you all from your perspective, because I really think this is going to touch people that are listening today when it comes to virtual. How are you marketing your programming, and how are you ensuring that you're getting the message out and engaging as many students as possible? Because I think a lot of times we don't talk about the marketing, and I think marketing is so critical. I remember when I was in school and, we would pass out flyers on campuses. But nowadays, I think that's irrelevant because I don't think students see flyers. They'll just throw the flyers away. But I want to ask you all, how do we market this stuff effectively?
I would say...
go for it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
Much like 2 weeks ago we met, Yeah. It's important to figure out who your social media champions are on your campus. Some of my students, 10 to 25,000 followers. I'm like, how did you do it? But I take advantage that they did it. And so, you know, like start a hashtag. Use that hashtag as a tracking mechanism to see how far did your post get reached. Also, social media is not our only stuck point. Listserv. I was talking with Donald about another program we were offering. He was like, I'm going to send it out to my FAU listserv. I thought that was awesome that he keeps an accurate listserv. I challenge those who are using listservs. It's only as good as the accuracy you keep in it. So if someone's graduated, kind of scrub it. You know, we use our graduate assistants and our student workers. They do a great job scrubbing it. Add a phone number to it. It's okay to do a text blast. There's nothing wrong with the text blast, but it works. We even opted to do a call for every leader in student organizations. Not the whole student organization, but maybe the chapter president, a text or a phone call. It really helps. Right now, everybody's answering the phone. Just want you to know, everybody's home, everybody's answering. And this isn't just for student programming. I hope we got some admission folks on the listening too. This is the time you should be calling high school seniors. They're at home with their parents.
That's so true.
So please pick up the phone. So yeah, picking up the phone and just letting them know a program's coming. Could you share it with your network? Last thing I want to offer to you is snack and chat. I got to tell you the truth. Chat and
snack and chat.
Literally. Tanea Laurie, I was stuck on names. University of Tennessee, Knoxville, Assistant Director, Fraternity Sorority Life. She does a chat and chew on Facebook Live that I'm committed to watching because it's always interesting. It's always popping. It always has a topic. And guess what? Her students chime in. So if you got something that you can ritualistically do weekly to be like the announcement sounding board, it reminds me of the old Baptist church. You knew the announcements were going to come. Well, we depend on her to do that for announcements and quality information to get into the community. So consider one of those options as ways to kind of just get the word out and ensure programming has a good reach. Testimonials are important. Grab a three sentence or a nice 30-second video and say, did you enjoy the webinar today? They may say, it was popping. I only got to stay 30 minutes, but it was the best 30 minutes I had this week. Now, if you blast that, what is other students going to do? They're going to chime in. So take advantage of testimonials too. Thanks, Josh, for letting me contribute to this question.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, we've actually set up a schedule of when we're going to send certain announcements. So we have the Office of Student Activities, and under that, we also have the Academy of Leadership and Service. So we have a few different emails and social media posts that we have going. So we don't want to send everything at once. We don't want to put too much in one email. We don't want to do everything in one day. And so we sit and we have it scheduled for the next few weeks, the things that we want to send out, what events, what programs, what deadlines, reminders, because on top of what we're sending them, they're getting from different offices at the college, from the college itself, from CUNY. And so we don't want our information to get lost. And we don't want them to shut it out either. Like, oh, I don't want to check my email anymore. I don't want to go to social media. I'm not going to follow you. So we're being strategic about when and how and what, we provide them.
I love that. When and how. I love that. I love that too as well. Anybody else? Jason, what do you want to say?
I do. I've made a video for every school. And I think being able to share the video on social media, being able to share the video as an add-on to an email, and it's a personalized email. And this is something that I think you could ask any performer, any speaker to do a 30-second ad. And it is, hey, this is Jason Lavasser. I'm really excited to be hosting your open mic on Friday night. I'll see you on campus. And do you want to do, just like a really quick one. And that engages the students just that much more, because it's not them reading a poster and seeing a picture of your special guest or your event. And you don't have to have, if it's bingo, then you make the video, or you have an engaging student make the video. If it's something that is unrelated to any human interaction, you can still create a video. Create a video where a person is I'm inviting Christina to the party on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Make a video, make a short video.
Get some excitement.
Videos work great. And make a short video and then put that everywhere. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
And ask your friends to share it.
Exactly. Share.
Share.
What about you, Donald?
The only thing that I have to add to what these wonderful people have already shared is that I chair our major events and engagement team. So again, we've compiled a list of every event that's taken place since we had to work remote all the way up until our reading days, which is April 27th. And from that list of events, we have 167. Each week we send out through the university Snapchat and the university Instagram. They post 4 events that we highlight. One focused on academic, one with diversity and inclusion, one social engagement, and then the 4th is usually tutoring or some type of support service. So we send that out, and that is us as a university coming together. And when it goes out on our university dedicated social media channel, it has a pretty good reach and it gets a lot of impressions. So we've tried to bring it to scale. And then if students look at those, it can take them to our entire list of all the university events as well, where students can see what else is going on. In addition to everything else everyone is adding, utilizing those influencers on social media has really been key for us on our campus.
I love that. I think they're really good points. And I want to add something else. I haven't seen a campus do it, but again, I'm not on thousands of campuses all across the country. But I think governors as well as the president do a very effective marketing strategy as far as having daily press conferences every single day. I think it would be pretty unique if the student president did that every day on their campus through Zoom and was just keeping students informed, because I'm sure there's a lot of students out there right now that have no idea what's going on, have no idea what's happening on their campus. And I think that'd probably be a phenomenal way to just keep students interacting with each other, but keep them abreast to what is going on. And I just got that idea right now, but I think that'd be a really powerful tool, because I'm sure students want to know what's going on. I'm sure student organizations want to know what's going on. And to have someone there that relates to them, that is there saying something, I think that makes a big, big difference as well. So great points. We're going to get into our first question for today. There's a study, and this is on my sheet right now. They say that 8 in 10 executives prefer in-person meetings to virtual contact. So 80% of executives would rather be in person than virtual. They found that that face-to-face requests are 34 times more effective than ones. And if you look at the other stat that I have up there, you'll find how much more effective face-to-face communication is than virtual communication. And through my research on virtual leadership, I consistently saw the effectiveness that we have more so when we're face-to-face than we are virtually. But that leads me into my next question, and I want anyone who wants to chime in can chime in. And the question is, what specific things do you believe every professional within student affairs must consider if they desire to increase student engagement and develop quality programming through a virtual platform? So if we're going to increase our engagement, as you know, some campuses may not be coming back until until 2021. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. But I'm just saying hypothetically, what I want to know is, this is going to be here. This isn't going anywhere. I don't believe it's going to go away when we get back to I guess, our new normal. What do we do, y'all? How do we navigate this stuff? What are we going to do? How are we going to deal with these challenges to make sure that, virtual is working more for us than against us? Because there was a group on Facebook, one of the Facebook groups, and I think about 65 to 75% of people said their virtual programming has been poor, not average, poor. So what do we do? How do we go from poor to at least above average or even excellent? Take it away. Who wants to start? I
just want to support something you said, because I think this is the really most important thing for all the participants on this webinar, is to understand that it's not like when you said, because I've heard this from a lot of students and advisors, like, well, when it gets back to normal, it's not the way we should be thinking. None of you, if you're thinking on this call that it's going to go back to normal, the healthiest thing you can do for yourself is to stop thinking that way and embrace this as a new reality. It is not going back to a new normal. This morning I was talking to a company that makes online classes for campuses, specifically for Vanderbilt, and all of every single, not just their online classes, but every single one of their first year classes is now going to go virtual. Everything. Their whole curriculum, they're going to do every professor's classes, everything they have is going to go virtual because of the possibility, because it's never going to go back to normal. So what I'm saying for a healthy thing for everybody on this call to do is stop saying that. It will not go back to the way it was. It won't. It will not. So let's embrace this together and get great at it. That's all I have to say.
Awesome.
So I was, you know, when you were speaking, I was thinking like, get with it, get with it. Let's take this, see it as an opportunity, and just get with it. But I know I'm also aware that I'm saying that as somebody who is comfortable working from home. Mm-hmm. I still have a job. My paycheck gets deposited into my account. My food is here. If I need more, I can go get it. I have my water here. Like I have privileges that not everybody has. So it's easier for me to get with it. And when I say get with it, I mean like, you know, just open up to what's possible, because my brain is in a place where I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do today? Not everybody has it that way. And so, you know, I'm aware that this is also a time for compassion and recognizing that people are dealing with this experience in different ways. So, so for me, being able to just like, you know, I had never done a leadership workshop online before. And it was something that I said, all right, I should do that at some point. And now I've been doing leadership workshops. We have an online leadership program. And next, I want to do a virtual leadership conference. Never did it before. And so I'm challenging myself. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, you know, something that each of us should consider is like, where are we at? Like, what are the resources we have personally and also professionally? And with the resources we have, what realistically are we capable of doing? You know, who do we have on our team? You know, what type of resources do they have? And we talked about funding. What type of funding do you have? You know, and just we looked at programs that we would have normally been doing on campus, and now we're switching it up. It's like the remix. That's how I feel. It's like, this is the remix. And so we're taking things and we're switching it up, putting them online. And then there's some things that we were like, we don't see how we can possibly do that at this time. So so really looking at like let's say the next month, what you might have been doing, how many of those things could you still do if you just remix it? Like, we'll do it online in a certain way, post it on social media, do something different. And then what things are just not going to happen right now? And not seeing it as a bad thing, seeing it as just I'm going to say, it's the remix.
I love it. That's great. That's good. I think before, I know Jared or someone else may have something to say, but I think it's really, I saw someone post on one of the Facebook groups, one of our frat brothers, Hamil, I believe his name is, from George Mason University, but he talked about doing a strengths training. And it really got my mind, leadership-based training. And it really got my mind thinking that is so incredibly doable, because you can do the assessments, you can talk amongst each other. And then within Zoom, you have your breakout rooms and you could have people talking amongst each other. So I think that's a really great idea. And I think it can definitely be perfected for sure. Jared, what do you want to say? I saw you were about to say something.
So I'm thinking, the first thing is, we rely on campus activity boards or just our own experience to develop programs or invite external components to our programs, be it a speaker, musician, entertainer. But I think we need to kind of go outside of our normal operations and look at building consortiums or maybe non-traditional groups to evaluate what would be enjoyed. And also examine cultures that you're going to be programming to. I'm of Christian faith, but I do understand Muslim faith, and I know Ramadan is approaching. Have we considered what programming looks like for different cultures and different religious beliefs? So and if they're not on the activity board, it's okay to get 3 freshmen, 3 sophomores, 3 juniors that may not have got elected to a board and really assess them. Potentially what I think is assessments are going to build our best tools. When you think about homecoming, they query the entire campus population to say, what artists do you want to bring for homecoming? Give us about 3 choices based on the financial capacity. And of those 3 choices, let your students really make some decisions. I get asked all the time, when are you coming back to my school? And I always want to tell the student, I wish it was that easy. It doesn't work like that. But I do thank you that you're enjoying me, you're liking all my posts, you're sharing them. But I just don't get to show up because you asked. So he said, give some options. Let's not just build a calendar, give options and allow them on something as affordable as SurveyMonkey to pick what option they really like. Now, when no one shows, you can kind of, say, this is what your peers thought was best. So I listen to your peers, and potentially on the positive note, people will show. People will show. They will be excited their peers represented what they enjoy and like as well. Because even though we're external to those GroupMe, WhatsApp, and group messages, the students are still talking. And we got to find someone to be in our corner that's talking for us. Someone to be like, hey, Donald's doing great things for us at FAU. And by the way, do you know he still has to come to FAU? Right. That kind of like is a shocker because everybody assumes we're all at home. So have those conversations and say, if you hit him up via email, he'll consider that as an option to keep us engaged. And again, examine the reach of your program by examining who you're trying to reach. The Berea College is one of my clients. It's in a rural part of Kentucky. I can't program there the same way I'm going to program at FAMU or North Carolina A&T. Two different populations. I need to examine the culture, much like we do as speakers and presenters. We examine the culture before we show up. So if we give an example, it's relatable. So just kind of examine the culture. And I think that we'll be able to make it through this easily.
That's great. That's great. Donald, you want to say anything, Donald?
The only thing that I have to add is we have just been really considering the time that we're offering some of our programs and services to students. This is anecdotal, but for myself, my sleeping pattern is a little messed up, and talking with some of my student leaders, they're sleeping in a little bit later, waking up. So just thinking about the times that we're offering our services when we review our events and the events we're going to highlight. My question is, which ones are happening in the evening or around 8 p.m. later in the evening, because some of our students are really engaged at that time. So we've just been considering different times. Some of our staff who are working remote typically want to do things between 8 and 5, but let's look outside of those normal times, which is what I always preach, whether we're dealing with this pandemic or not. So just looking at different times to reach our population.
I love it. I love it. Jerry, you said something real important. And I want to actually highlight that, because I'm thinking about doing another webinar on that, because I don't think there's been enough talk about that. And it's, how do you develop your programming and engagement for culturally diverse students, and let alone first generation students? Because the reality is you may have some students that are going back home that don't have internet. And there's just a variety of other challenges that are going on right now. And so how do we ensure that we have equity when it comes to virtual programming and engagement for students that may not be in, as Christina was talking about, a privileged situation? Christina has a job, she can still work, she can think. Man, there's other people trying to figure out, man, how am I about to pay these bills? How am I about to survive out here? Where am I going to be working? This is the reality of our students. And I just want to talk about, how do we engage those students? I know we'll talk about it later down the line, but how do we engage those? Because I think that's a very, very important thing to think about.
Reaching out to the community in which they went back to. Something that's really awesome about Miramar, Florida, here where I'm at. In Miramar, Mayor Messam has really championed trying to reach the community and show where community assets are. So if I don't have a program for you, letting you know where you can pick up a meal is just as beneficial. You know what I'm saying? Letting you know where things that, because I'm gonna be honest with you, we've kind of grown numb to the news because it's kind of the same news.
Yeah.
So maybe sending a brief update how it pertains to your community. Something that I've been doing in group texts with some of my friends is sharing good news stories. So I think it was like something I saw posted earlier, like 200,000 people have come out the hospital that have recovered from COVID-19. I wanted to be sure everybody in my circle at least knew how many came out the hospital. So sharing good news. So maybe capturing good news. And I'm gonna be honest with you, when the kids are not there, mail that comes from a university. I remember when I was in my undergrad and graduate program, my mama checked everything. I don't know if she was expecting it to be a grade report or what she thought it was going to be. It could have been just an advertisement to register for classes. I would get a text from my mom, baby, did you register for your class?
Yeah.
And so I'm saying that to say, don't be afraid of snail mail. They're at home. In fact, the student that went home is probably the one who's checking the mail because it's easy to go get it. So I'm saying that to say, it's okay to make a 3x5 of what activities are being done on campus, or maybe some top 3 things you could do during COVID-19 to better prepare yourself. You know, maybe self-meditation, self-reflection, consider a weekly devotion, consider, you know, a poppin' TikTok challenge. You know, maybe tell them about cyber hygiene. Don't fall into those challenges where folks are asking you, hey, Josh, what's your middle name? What's your mom's maiden name? Then you post challenge, hashtag. Next thing you know, when someone gets into your email, that's how they got your password. Because those are the questions our passwords are asking. Mm-hmm. So, you know, maybe those things in snail mail used to work in our later 90s, early 2000s, but maybe considering that now, because it's a different time, it would work. I think it would. And I would check my mail. I'm checking it even if FIU sending me something and I'm an employee because I have nothing else to do.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I want to share, just as you're talking, Jed, I got in, you just quickened me. And when I'm looking away, I'm writing down questions, so don't think I'm not listening to, just so y'all know. But what I wanted to say real quick, I think what I do know is most students have phones. I don't care where you're from. People have phones. People have IG. And so I just want to throw this out there. I think one of the innovative ways to reach first generation or culturally diverse students is really using different forms that can be activated on your phone, such as IG Lives. As Christina said, TikTok, and other ways where, you know, a lot of people have phones. I mean, you know, I know there may be some that don't, but I've never met a student that did not have a cell phone in my field. I know there are some that don't have cell phones, so I'm just saying, but a lot of them have cell phones, a lot are on IG, and a lot are, you know, on their phones consistently. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But do any other panelists have anything to say about that as far as our culturally diverse or first generation students?
Yeah, I think one of the things that is coming up a little bit is like knowing your student population. So some students, you know, they have the internet, they got Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat and Facebook and all that. And then some students don't. Some students, they want to know, you know, how do I get internet? Where can I get food? You know, is there an emergency grant? And so sometimes, you know, using your, whether it be email or social media, to just share that information, whether it be this is what the college has or this is what the community has, or both really. Because, you know, one of the things that somebody had brought up was if you have a student who lives far from campus, is it better for them to come to the campus to come get, you know, food from the pantry, or for them to know where there's a local pantry in their neighborhood? So giving them that information, as well as what the college offers. Sometimes that is it's what those students want. And so they're not, like, they would appreciate like trivia or a movie night, but right now, that's not really on their mind. And they could use the distraction probably, but they're focused on, you know, I want to complete my schoolwork, but I got to get food. I need to make sure I have a place to live. So, so it's, you know, paying attention to those things too, not just the, you know, the programs. So there's like different levels, and depending on the college you work at, you know, it'll be more of a focus than, you know, other colleges. Like for us, it's a big focus.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I want to move on to this next question because I want to make sure I get to these questions. I think this is a very important question. On the screen, you see a difference between e-learning and traditional learning. And anyone that's went through college understands there is a difference. My undergraduate was traditional learning. My graduate was traditional learning, but my doctoral program was e-learning at Nova Southeastern University. And when we deal with programming, obviously you have educators, you have lecturers, but then you have artists and performers. And so what I want to talk about, because I know we have a variety of different ways in which to engage students, what is the difference, Jason? This may be your good question, and Donna may can answer this as well. What is the difference between preparing for an artist and a speaker? What are the differences? Because I know as a speaker, there are some differences, but what have you all discovered as far as differences are concerned? How can schools maximize that experience?
It's a good question. I mean, my mind was already leading to something we talked about before the webinar started about, so on any given day, I might have a keynote or a workshop and a concert or hosting a talent show or an open mic event virtually. This has been the most fun 3 weeks I've had by staying home. But the most amazing, I think, from an advisor standpoint, reaching out to your students, once you've got them engaged and know that they're coming, is to prepare them. And I'm gonna, and this is set some expectations of how they should behave at the event. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is if you have a comedian or a musician, or it's a passive engagement kind of event, totally, I think being an audience member is very different than being at a workshop. Mm-hmm. And so explaining to the students that, and this is the best way that I've been able to think about it. So if you've got the students coming to a leadership workshop, try this as a way to explain it. You've been invited to an event. And if you go to the event and you stand outside of the event and you look in the window, you're not attending the event. And I know technology is going to be a challenge for someone who can't turn their video on. But if the student can turn the video on, they should turn the video on. That should be an expectation, right? Otherwise, you're just looking in from the window, right? So really there's sort of 3 types of attendees. There's the one who comes into the party and just throws stuff everywhere and breaks stuff and knocks over stuff. That's the Zoom bomber. Then there's the person who's outside the window who's looking in, and that's the student who showed up, was invited, but isn't really there. And this is more in a leadership setting. In a leadership setting, the expectation is that if you're a student leader and you're coming to a workshop, you're attending and you're there. You're not jogging. You're not, the sky shouldn't be behind you moving while you're attending a workshop. Now, I think it's different for an entertainment. If it's an open mic night and you're sitting on the couch and you're just like, you're relaxed like this, that's a passive, you're taking it in. So setting those expectations about the differences and letting the students know what your expectations are, because your students represent their campus, but they're also in that moment making an impression on us who may be somebody they might want to work with in the future, right? So let them know that their impressions of how they present themselves in those moments are actually very important, because I may know somebody who may be looking for a grad student. And if that student says, I want to go to grad school, but I also want to just lay back on the couch and not be engaged in your event, then I'll remember that. That's my point.
That's good.
Etiquette.
Event
etiquette.
Event etiquette.
Event etiquette. There's a difference. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Donna, what have you learned? Donna, awesome point. Jason, what about you, Donna?
Well, we've only hosted entertainers thus far, and also been the guinea pigs for some events. We've worked with a character artist that took a screenshot of your face, drew it, and then emailed it to the student.
Wow,
so we've done some very creative things. So I would say one of the things that we have been discussing, just reviewing the contract as usual, making sure that we know how many students we're going to serve or how many students will be able to participate in the event, or if it reaches a cap or capacity. We don't want any students upset, or we don't want them to have the expectation to think that they're going to get a character when we have a limit of 50, just due to the time constraints of how the event's running virtually. Also, for some of our other events, we've created some posts that tell students what you need to participate in this event, or if you're considering this event. So with Earth Day coming up, we're creating Earth Day crafts, creating out of a milk jug, how to water your plants. So we're telling students what they need, or items or supplies that they may need to participate in this event. So those are some of the things that we've been thinking about with our entertainers. And when we had our magician, we wanted to make sure that the sound was worked out. So we logged in early, did some sound checks just to make sure everything was working correctly, and how they were doing the different videos on the screen. So
you did a virtual magician.
Yes, we hosted a virtual magician. So we've been trying to be creative since we had already had some contracts executed, and still wanted to support our artists and allow them to
just say that there's some magicians out there who've really worked hard to create amazing virtual programs. And as a plug for the virtual event community on the Facebook page, I put it in the chat, because you can search in there for magician, And you can search in there really for any program, and you can search in there for free programs because there's amazing free stuff out there. But Donald, I'm so glad that you took that chance to try a virtual magician, because, you know, there's just where they're working so hard because they want you out there in the world to have a great experience. They don't want to show up and be bad, right? So they've been putting in like all-nighters just trying to get this one magic trick right so that it works here, you know?
Jared, what were you going to say? Or I saw Jared or
It's
Christina.
important that our institutions that fund our student activities and student programs with grants, you have conversations with your sponsored research. Remember last time, I think I talked about no-cost extensions. This is a time, especially if it's federal or state funds, you can get no-cost extensions. You just need to, you know, do the paperwork. And when you're building your performance deliverables for whatever grant funding that you get, and you have to send your deliverables off so they can be agreed upon, adjust your deliverables, because you may not program traditionally for 100% of your fall. You may have to say, okay, if I'm getting such and such amount of money for programming, I need to probably divvy it up and determine how much of that will be virtual programming, how much of that will be face-to-face programming, and who do I need to partner with. I want to encourage every institution to, it's time to reach out to your alumni. We were successful in reaching out to our alumni, and we were able to get some mini internships for those who are business owners. They came up with 30-day projects and said, I can put a $3,000 pot against that. How many students you bless with it is your business, but this is my give back. So it's time to work with your alumni affairs office and see what business owners or alums who are willing to sponsor additional programming, because we didn't budget to have completely virtual programming at this moment.
Right.
You know, or maybe contractually we're paying bills for things that can't take place on our campus right now because the contracts were locked in. So consider this time to have intimate conversation with your alums and maybe build marketing materials. So that maybe you reaching out to institutional advancement or the alumni affairs office to say, what agreed upon verbiage will we send out to our alumni to support us during this time? And I tell folks, you don't always have to have support that's this big. You know, if 75 people give $100, it's still $7,500.
Sure.
But if 2 people give, you know, $3,800, it's $7,600. What I'm saying is everybody's not going to be positioned to give large during this time because we're trying to provide for our families. But I tell you, if you make it at a price point that's agreeable with an understanding of what that's paying for, I assure you, you're going to have some giving alumni feel obligated. And look at organizations, our alumni fraternity sorority chapters. They have programming planned out that they can't spend money on right now. They have facilities rented to have monthly meetings in. They won't meet. It's going to be virtual meetings now. The money's still there. Let's have conversations with them. I want to shout out 100 Black Men. 100 Black Men came in and sponsored something for my alma mater because they knew there was a need. And all I did was send a simple email out to the 100 Black Man president and say, would you please? And he was like, who do I make the check out to? I want to also shout out Sigma Pi Phi. The Boule here in Miami has really done a great job supporting the institutions here in Florida. I know there's chapters in your respective areas for our attendees on the call. Reach out to community stakeholders and ask them, will they support your institutions? Because this is affecting everybody, and I believe they truly will.
That's great. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Great resource. Christina, what were you going to say? I know you were getting ready to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say something simple. This goes for artists, speakers, facilitators. Do a test run beforehand. I've seen some over the last few weeks that I questioned if they did that because you want to check the sound, you want to check the video, you want to make sure you're, if you have a presentation that it's how to do it and that it goes up right. That's been very helpful. For us, we have a webinar at 4:00, but we meet at 3:30. It also gives us a chance to talk to each other and just outside the webinar. But that would be my one tip on this one is just do a test run beforehand.
Awesome. I love that. What do you say, Jason? I'm gonna
add to that. Definitely do a test run. Absolutely do a test run for everything. But also, if you are presenting, if you're one of the folks on this call, remember that it won't always go the way you think it might go, even once you've done the test run. So one of the things that I always do, if I've got a poll or I'm sharing a worksheet or I'm sharing stuff, what I've done is I've just made a backup plan. So if I am asking a question of a group of students and I'm trying to get the technology to work, it doesn't work, I go like this. right? So all you need is, Walmart sells these. I've got packs and packs of colorful 3x5 cards. I can explain this study. I can thank people for being amazing. I can tell them they're rock stars, and they're all right here around me. And I just think it's nice to know, like, you also maybe rethink the way that you've been presenting in the past. If you always do a keynote presentation or something, think about just having pictures. Like maybe you just need to hold up a photograph, right? And because the technology, even with the test run, which absolutely 100% practice, but it may not go that way. So be ready for it.
Yeah, and I want to chime in on that as a speaker. So as you know, if you were on the first session, I didn't have a background. I have a background now. Very simple process that you can create. Now the background makes a big difference. It's appealing. It's just like television and production quality. So for me as a speaker, or if you're a trainer or you're doing programs, you always want to think about how can you elevate the quality of your product? How can you add certain things? Earlier today, there was a gentleman or someone had commented about the music I had playing beforehand. I just learned how to do that. That's a nice touch, right? So you come early, you have music. Also, there's ways where you can set up your PowerPoint to an LC to a 50-inch TV you may have on campus. I'm sure campuses have it. And then you can actually do like a live standing up presentation, which people are more engaged when you're standing up versus when you're sitting down. And then there's a variety of things you can do that I learned as far as using your chat room to work for you. And we're when I ask questions, people just start chatting, people start talking, especially with students, because students love to chat. And so I just think it's really important for presenters, from a presenter standpoint, of just thinking about how you can utilize everything that you're using for your good as it relates to programming. Because again, and I'm sure everyone on the panel will agree with me, quality matters. Your quality matters. And something I didn't get a chance to share earlier, and I do want to chime this in, and I think it's so important. Always remember that you're in it for the long term. And I think that's important because sometimes, oh my gosh, my event messed up. I tell people all the time, failure is a preparation for success based on how you perceive it. And so you're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes. Students are going to make mistakes. And the wonderful thing about right now, people are going to be understanding because they realize we're all making mistakes. We're all going to goof up at some point. But the goal is not to get caught up in that. The goal is to use that as an opportunity to get better. So I just encourage to think long term, to think how you can make it better and better. And I'll just say this pretty confidently. I think that people who are most effective at utilizing virtual platforms over the next 6 months are going to be hot commodities as far as jobs are concerned for campus communities. Hot commodity. If you can perfect this at a way that separates you, that's going to be a hot commodity. So I just wanted to share that. We're getting ready to move into our Q&A. It's our Q&A session. So I do have 3 questions that we're going to answer. If you have a question, please feel free to put them in the chat room right now. We're going to go over those, but just want to bring everyone up, make a couple of announcements before we move. In 2 weeks, we're doing another session sponsored by the Circle of Change Leadership Conference. It's a career development masterclass. As many of you know, COVID-19 is affecting a lot of people as far as jobs are concerned, about career building. And so I've made this a resource, not just for professionals, but for students as well. We have representatives from Tesla, from the NBA, from Viacom, from Nike, and another career coach. We're going to be having a discussion coming up April 30th. You're the first to know. You'll get an email Monday with our recap. So I encourage you to sign up. I think this is going to sell out very quickly. But I think it's going to be really powerful. It's not only a resource for us professionals to understand so we can help students, but it's also a resource for students as well. So I want to make everyone aware of that. Another announcement I want to make, Circle of Change. We're planning to do our conference December 4th through the 6th. The goal is California, but based on what the mayor of LA said, we may switch and be in Miami, Florida. First time we've ever been in Miami, but that could be a possibility. So if you want additional information, that's the email address, that's the website. I know it's a long ways away, but I want to just put that out there so people can start thinking about it. A very great resource for your students. And obviously these are our virtual programming resources. We have Jared, he is a speaker, Jason, the speaker and artist, I'm a speaker, and these other ones as well are great resources for all of you. And then you have Christina and Donald as well, if you have any questions. So I wanted to bring that up to you guys as far as announcements are concerned. And I want to get into some of these questions So I'm going to start here. I see Tracy has a question. And so the first question, and if we can answer these in like 1 minute, that would be great, because the more we answer, the more I can get through. The first question is, do you have any tips for graduate student engagement? Graduate student engagement. Anybody want to take that question?
So here at FAU, one of the things we've done to engage our graduate students, I'll say it's already hard to engage with our particular graduate student population, but we have what's called a 3-minute thesis, where students talk for 3 minutes on a related topic. It's then judged, and our winners get actually awarded scholarship funds from our graduate college. So we have moved that from in person to online, where students record their 3-minute video, similar to like a TED Talk. We have a group of judges who review those, and then they announce a winner. So that's something that we've been able to move virtually that we've typically had in person, as well as our graduate research day. We've done it through Launchpad, where students are able to have their poster presentations reviewed and judged as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Next question. What has been your favorite virtual event you've seen take place so far? Who would like to answer that question? Your favorite?
Lead the fifth on this one. I've seen a lot of them, but I'm always in the picture.
We just recently did a this or that challenge, where we said this or that. We threw a lot of different things out there. It blended it blended our Gen Z with our millennial population, non-traditional students, with Gen X. Some are baby boomers, some are professors on campus. But what it did is it blended a lot of different cultures and different eras in which people were raised and reared growing up. So what I liked about it was, if you're from like my frat brother's from California, so now I get to say this or that, checkers or rallies. You know, some folks will be like, "What's rallies? All we see is checkers in Miami." I'm like, bro, it's the same thing. So, just kind of considering that it was an education tool, because it kind of, and for the people who didn't come 2 weeks ago, this or that is like, you give people choices between this or that, and then what they don't know, they ask, and the person who came up with it gets to explain. So this or that, washing powder or liquid detergent. Some of some of our generations, he was like, "What is washing powder?"
Yeah.
I was like, that's all we had to choose from when I was growing up. So, but you see how we laughed? We got a lot of laughs out the students. They clowned us a little bit for being old fashioned, but I thought it was cool that it glued two eras together for a good joke and a good educational time.
Awesome. Next question. Thank you so much. What would be some easy, low-hanging fruit programming options where institutions or organizations should look first? So what are some low-hanging fruit, some programming where, if you're looking for something, where should you go first? Where would you go first?
I would jump into Jason's Facebook group.
Yeah, it's not mine. I mean, I'm there, but I appreciate that. So I would honestly, there's one of the early posts, and I think I pinned it to the top, is I asked campuses to share their calendars. So the lowest hanging fruit for all of you is to go to see what the other free events are being programmed by other campuses. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's so much wonderful free stuff out there that's already taking place and it's already scheduled. You just have to share the link with your students. So go to the calendars of the other campuses that are listed on the virtual events community. And again, I'll put the link in the chat again if you're curious about it. But the question about low-hanging fruit is, what's the quickest and easiest way for you to have a program and to impress your boss is to go and copy somebody else's calendar. And that's totally okay. You don't have to pay anybody to do anything, because so many amazing artists and agencies are offering free content right now. And the free content may not go on forever, right? Everyone's sort of learning the way, but right now you could have multiple events on any given night, and you don't have to spend any money on it. What you can do is just provide the links to those events. And so many campuses have created those pages already on their virtual events pages. So if you haven't created that yet, you can really borrow, because we want you to succeed, and those campuses won't be in any way offended if you borrow what they've done. It's flattering to have somebody copy what you do. So go forward and borrow.
Awesome. We have another question. I can answer this. How do we make sure we honor our graduates, especially those that may be first generation students? Do students want virtual ceremonies? How can we make them fun? I'll let you all, just for me personally, I literally have a virtual engagement coming up in May. It's for a trio program in May, and it's actually for their graduation, for their first generation students. And so what I did, and I'm sure others can share, I actually did a package deal where they'll get a free keynote that I've already done live recorded. And then I'm doing a virtual keynote, 15 to 20 minutes, about my graduation message for their students. Now, again, I encourage them to add several other things to that programming. So maybe you can mail awards. Maybe this is where, Donald, you can come up with what you guys are doing. But there's several other things we can add to that. But in my space, or maybe it could be Jared, could be that person, or Jason, the speakers, in that space, we're giving them a 15 to 20 minute virtual keynote session. And I think that's really powerful, because we're not just giving a speech, but for me, when I do a graduation speech, it's to drop knowledge that they can take with them. And I think anything in the 21st century in these times, especially for our first generation students, is how are they going to navigate? How are you going to navigate to get a career? I do this survey called Red Leadership Survey. We're up to about 315. And it was amazing to me when I asked the question, how do you look for a job? And a majority said through LinkedIn or a job board. Now, it was cool for the data, but what that tells me is we're not teaching our students how to find jobs, because most people will tell you, you don't find jobs through LinkedIn or job boards. You find jobs through networking and relationships. And so if that's at the lowest of the totem pole, it's going to be tougher, because in times like this, it's all about relationships. And so these are some of the things that I think is really important as it relates to first generation students. But what do you all have to say? Anybody else that want to chime in on that question before we move on?
Inexpensive solution is stoles. You know, I know some schools that are sending stoles, custom stoles, honoring this graduation class. And they're mailing them to the house, asking them to wear the stole, take a selfie, and submit it. And I believe they're going to rotate those on their Instagram, the institution Instagram pages. And I know one institution is making a huge graduation collage with everybody with that stole on. And inexpensive, when I looked at the budget, it looks like they spent $9 a stole, and they were able to get 870 of them at $9. A comment was made from the commencement committee and said it was cheaper to buy the stoles and send them than the commencement was going to cost us. So I'm all for this.
Yeah, so on the college level, we're looking at an actual virtual ceremony. So the question, it also mentions first generation students, and we have a ton of them. So we want to honor them. We want to honor all the graduates, but there's a special experience for those first generation students. And so we're looking at how we're going to do that. We also, in our office, we have the Academy of Leadership and Service. That's a ceremony usually. And so just over the last few days, we've been having the discussion about how do we do that virtually? Like, is it going to be, because we usually give the names of the students, like you completed this program, they completed this program. Here's some pictures, here's some jokes, some experiences, and they share. So is that something that we'll invite through Zoom? Is it something that will, do some posts on social media? So there is a Facebook group, the Student Affairs Professionals, where they have, it's got to be like 40 different schools that are giving examples. It's in a spreadsheet of ideas that they're looking at for their award ceremonies. So that's for award ceremonies. But I think also some of them might have talked about commencement as well. Those Facebook groups are really helpful, by the way. I know there's been a few going in the chat, but definitely if you just search through Facebook for some different ones about student affairs or virtual events, there's a lot, and they're really helpful.
Awesome. Real quick, I know we're over time a little bit, but I want to get to this other question. Co-curricular activities. How are all of you, or if any of you are dealing with co-curricular activities as it relates to virtual programming? That was actually the first question. I probably should have went there first. Has anyone delivered a co-curricular program, remote or online? How did it go? Anybody done co-curricular?
Our co-curricular experience was the mock interviews. What we did is we looked at all the soft skills, which some research has done call them soft skills, because they're actually the skills you need to survive and navigate. We looked at what soft skills were not being presented in our traditional curriculum, and we worked on those soft skills. So we started with empathy, We started with effective communication. What we learned is some of the students were actually beginning to write cover letters and have conversations like they were text messaging. A student was asking me to plug him with a job that was going to hire me. He said, LMK once you find out. I'm like, LMK? I Googled, let me know what you find out. I don't know if that would be appropriate. So what I tell students is write an email as if someone's going to be lazy and forward it. Make the assumption that your audience is always formal until you're told to make the email informal. So we decided to use soft skills, address the curriculum gap and acknowledging what soft skills were needed in our co-curricular programming and co-curricular supplement to our hard curriculum.
I love it. We got about, well, we're over 5 minutes, but I want to end with this question. It was our last question. So we'll go one by one. Jason, you're on my far right, so we'll start with you, and I'll move all the way down. My last question is the future of student affairs. How does this impact the future of student affairs as far as virtual programming is concerned? What do you foresee? Take it away.
I foresee that if you deny this, then you will not be successful. The foreseeable future is this is an awesome way to connect with people. This is amazing. So embrace it. And for me, we're going to keep this platform forever. My
awesome
prediction.
Share it. It's on mute. You're on mute, Jared.
There sorry, y'all. I always enjoy partnering with this team to bring a webinar. I would tell you the future of student affairs is going to take more partnership to survive. Also, not to try to jump in, there is a question I think is valuable. Graduate students who are trying to enter higher ed, I got to tell you now, it's not going to be as easy as it used to be. Build relationships, network. You should be spending 10 minutes a day while we're in COVID-19, establishing new connections on LinkedIn, but not just hitting connect, having intentional conversation. I graduated with this GPA. I'm this kind of leader. This is what I'm seeking to do. Also, our entry points used to be housing. Y'all, housing will not be at its peak anymore. I just got to be transparent. Resident halls are going to be at probably 50% capacity. They won't be filled. So what does that mean? The 20% reductions that our state institutions are asking are going to come out of housing. So we're not going to be hiring our grad students in housing like we used to. So what does that mean? You got to be prepared to do things that are not housing. So you need to be intentional during your last year. Even if your practicum is over, even if your time to shadow somebody is over, go to the office anyway. Graduate student at FIU, Donald, may I shadow you? I'll come at 5 every day. I know you don't leave till 8. Can I come hang out for 3 hours? Now what happens when there's a coordinator role open? Don is endorsing you. The last thing, and I know I'm over my minute, remember this, mentors are easier to obtain than sponsors. You need somebody who will pick up the phone and say, guess what? Josh is the bomb, hire him or you're losing out. That's a sponsor, that's not a mentor. A mentor coaches you to the opportunity, a sponsor lands the deal. Seek out sponsors and you can still get in higher education.
Love it. Christina, awesome.
All right, so I would say 3 things. We have to be flexible with our thinking, how we are programming. I think also we have to be strategic about our programming. So what do our students really need and what is meaningful for them? And the last thing is for our schedules, our work schedules, we're still getting work done and I'm working from home. So I think that's something that some of us, if you're into that, will have to advocate for. I know I have to be on campus Wednesdays because we have club hours, but I might not need to be on campus on Monday. I might still work from home, but work from home. So I think that discussion about what does your schedule look like, and Donald talked about this too. Is it a 9 to 5? What is that going to look like? So I think our schedules are going to be a discussion as well.
Awesome. Donald.
The only thing that I would have to add to this is that, as some of the panelists already said, is we probably should have already been providing virtual programming opportunities to our students who are 100% online. So I don't think this is going to change. Again, we've engaged with some students that we do not typically or normally engage with. So this has been an opportunity that we have really taken advantage of. So take this opportunity to continue to hone in and improve the product that we're giving to the students. But this isn't changing anytime in the near future. And I'm glad that some of our students who are 100% are online are now getting to experience, are now getting the full college experience.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Donna. And I want to shout out to Terry Watson, made a great comment. Make sure it's accessible for students with disabilities. Absolutely. That's a phenomenal point to think about as well. Thank you for sharing that. I want to thank Donald. I want to thank Christina, Jared, and Jason for being a part of these 2 webinars, you know, taking time out of your busy schedules to bring value to the community. We're very grateful and thankful for all of you. I'm grateful for all of you. Glad to know such incredible people, and 2 of them are right here in sunny Florida. But it's great to know each of you, all of you as well. And I just want to just leave you with this. As far as the future of student affairs, I just like to look at perspective, and I think there's opportunity. And I know that's, I know that, you know, I know there's a lot of challenges right now, but there's opportunity. When I think about my life over the past 20 years, I think in 2004, Facebook was created. That has changed everything. I think with Netflix, I remember I used to go to Blockbusters. That changed everything. Amazon, I believe, was created in 1998 or 1997. I may be wrong, but that changed everything. And I think right now, everything is about to shift. Not to say we won't have some of the things we had before, but things are going to shift. And instead of being behind everyone, this is the moment to really just to lean in and say, how can I perfect this skill set? How can I provide the best product possible? And to be honest with a lot of you out there, this is a time where you can make mistakes and you can learn, because the truth be told, once this gets perfected, you're not going to be able to make all the mistakes that we may be able to make right now. So this is where you can be innovative, you can be creative, you can try things out. And again, I'm always about people reaching their fullest potential as far as leadership and career positions. Although Gerald talked about Res Life is going to be off the hook, well, grad students, learn how to maximize this technology and learn how to provide this at a high level that some of senior officials may not be able to do. I promise you they're going to keep you around, because some people don't like doing it. Some people don't want to have nothing to do with it. And truth be told, some people are like, I ain't touching it. I'm going to have someone come in and do it for me. It's just what it is. And that's an opportunity, but it's all about perspective and what opportunities are available to you. So that's my closing thoughts. I want to thank you all so much again for tuning in. It's been another great turnout, and I'm so grateful for you. Again, you'll get an email, a recap email by next Monday. In that email, I realize I don't even have to tell you what we talked about because you'll have the video. So I was going to send you the link to the video. That's my goal. I may put a little couple of highlights there, as well as highlight some of the resources as far as Jared, Jason, and myself is concerned, and also encourage you to make sure that you register for our event on April 30th. In dealing with career strategies. I'm telling you, it's going to sell out. It's going to sell out. I know it's going to happen, but I'm going to try to get it to you second. Circle of Change family first, but you'll be second for being a part of these webinars, and then it goes out to the masses. So I encourage you to lock in, stay on the database. I'm doing, like I said, I'm not going nowhere. I'm doing these every other week. Even when things go back to normal, I'm still going to do this because I believe in this. I think it's a great resource. I love connecting with people. So you'll see these wonderful people again. So Jason, all they can smile at you because we're going to do some more programs in the future. But yeah, stay connected with us. I also want to say this. If you haven't connected with us on LinkedIn, man, please connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, however else, connect with us. We got to all be connected. So make sure you connect with us. LinkedIn is a great place where we can connect. Again, I think all the panelists would agree, we're in this together. We're not by ourselves. We need each other, which is what I think great leadership is about. So make sure you connect, make sure you talk, and reach out if you have any questions. Thank y'all so much. Y'all were awesome. Y'all were amazing. I'm on my way out of here. Until 2 weeks. See y'all soon. Peace.